Welcome to Waters of Memory. My name is Eric. I am a Reiki master, occultist, and shadow work coach. My job is to help you heal, get clear on what you really want, and live abundant in your purpose. You can purchase my services or schedule a session with me at my website in the description. If you have any questions or you would like to schedule a free consultation with me, you can do so through the contact form on my website. If you appreciate what I do here on YouTube, you can support me for as little as $5 a month on Patreon. And I offer a range of benefits, including group healings, rites, and attunements at the higher tiers. I think most goals fall into the category of simple but not easy, meaning that it's not actually that difficult to figure out how to attain them. It's about putting together a plan and executing it consistently over a long period of time. And this is where a lot of us run into difficulties. And the question is always, how do we overcome that? And why do we sabotage after a period of time in the first place? I'm going to use weight loss as an example because I'm currently making a big weight loss push. And this is not my first rodeo with it. I grew up as a fat kid, and I've gone up and down several times over the course of my adult life. Now, when it comes to fat loss itself, I basically figured it out about a decade ago. I was at my heaviest in 2015, a bit over 300 pounds. I followed the slow carb diet as outlined by Tim Ferriss in the 4-Hour Body. Now, if you're not familiar with that, it's basically a modified paleo where you get an all-you-can-eat cheat day once per week. I thought I had found some kind of cheat code with that where calories didn't matter. It was all about hormones and boosting the metabolism so you didn't get that metabolic adaptation. And I got to indulge my inner fat kid on the regular while still eating clean and seeing progress in terms of my physical health over the time that I was on it. But it had some faults. Chief among them, it wasn't actually breaking away from calories in, calories out. I'm sorry to tell you folks, but at the end of the day, you're not going to lose weight unless you're in a caloric deficit, period. Just doesn't work. If you find a diet that works for you, that proposes that it does all of these different things, it kickstarts this biological process, that biological process, intermittent fasting, keto, etc. If it works for you, great. But it works for you by tricking you into eating a caloric deficit. And there's a lot of different ways that you can do that. You don't have to restrict your foods. And I had to figure that out because the slow carb got me down by about 100 pounds, but I was still clearly overweight and I wasn't budging any further. So I had to go back to the drawing board and I had to take these things that I had thrown out that I thought were junk science or had been outmoded or whatever, and I had to apply those principles to what I was doing at that point in time in order to get from 210, 215 down into the 190-pound range. Now, why did that weight loss not stick? Being fair about it, I was doing pretty well up to 2020. And it's the first time in my life where I didn't completely throw away my progress before 2020 hit. And I think all of you can understand why the stresses of 2020 got to me. And I just stopped caring after a while. But one thing with the slow carb, it had its pluses and minuses in terms of the impact that it had on me. If I had to go back and do it again, I probably never would have followed the slow carb, even though I would have adopted certain principles from it into whatever regimen I ended up putting together, which would probably end up looking very similar to what I'm doing now, where I'm not restricting myself from any foods, but I always compensate if I decide to eat out. And if I have a treat, I'm either planning for it or I just skip a meal. I skip a meal, I skip breakfast, I eat a little bit less at this hour of the day, I do a bit more exercise the following day. I always have a plan for how I'm going to compensate. But with the slow carb, it did burn me out on binge eating. which was always my Achilles heel growing up and through much of my adult life. See, the issue for me with breaking from dietary plans prior to that point, it wasn't hunger. And when it comes to hunger during dieting, you will experience some of that no matter how you go about it. It's just part of the process. But you should not be ravenously hungry if you're getting the proper nutrition in the foods that you're eating. A little bit of hunger as you're going to bed is fine, but if you're ravenously hungry, it means that your body is lacking something, and it is pushing you to get some nutrients in your system. But when it comes to hunger, that never prompted me to go and eat. Being uncomfortable did. Because being uncomfortable, food is how I would soothe myself. Food is how I would escape my emotions. Food is how I would kickstart the dopamine in my brain so that I could feel something positive when I felt completely overwhelmed. And this psychological aspect of weight loss doesn't get talked about as much as it should. Weight loss becomes something that is made into being entirely about willpower, when the reality is, if you are not feeding yourself properly within the caloric restraints that you had to follow to seek progress, and you aren't addressing the emotional issues that come with being overweight, then you are going to self-sabotage every single time. Most of the time when I broke from my regimen, regardless of what it was because I was bored, it's because I was distressed, it wasn't because I was hungry. I had room in my stomach, sure, but I knew the difference, and I knew that I was lying to myself in the moment. So the slow carb did have the benefit of burning me out on these massive cheat days, because after a year or so of doing it, it stopped being fun. But along the way, even though I saw progress, there were several weeks where the fact that I had one cheat day made me think, well, what's a second day gonna hurt? So I gave myself a built-in excuse for going overboard more often than I should have, even following the rules of the regimen that I was following. Just because I wanted to. I wanted to because facing the change that getting slim and staying slim demanded from me was more than I was willing to endure in that moment. When it comes to any of these major things that we want to accomplish in our lives, the same basic principles will always apply. So, fast forwarding a bit, for me, it was a major victory that in terms of putting weight back on, it was a very slow process this time. It's part of the reason that I got back up into the 200s to like 230, 240 in the first place. Because in the past, when I ballooned back out, it was a very quick process. This go around, it was 2020, the world was ending, and I just stopped giving a damn. And in terms of my expansion, it was a gradual process. It took years to go up a pant size. And relative to everyone around me, it's like, I'm not looking that bad. In terms of how I felt, in terms of my overall health, I wasn't seeing a sharp decline. I wasn't seeing a sharp decline in my energy levels. I wasn't seeing the mental fog that I've experienced in the past. It didn't occur to me, like I said in a prior video, that things had gotten a little bit out of hand until I saw myself regularly on camera, and it dawned on me that that's a chunkier boy than I remember seeing in the mirror, not that long ago. But the thing about that weight, and I think that this applies for a lot of us who find ourselves in this position, is that there is a sacrifice that's entailed in slimming down, even if it is a wholly positive thing for us in the long run. And that is all of these emotions that bubble up within us as we're slimming down. They have to be dealt with, they have to be processed. We have to find new ways of dealing with things healthfully and in real time instead of just trying to stuff them down and soothe ourselves and either numb ourselves or go out of our way to just feel anything remotely positive by whatever means are available. And you also get rid of your ability to become invisible. Anybody who's ever been big can tell you this. The easiest way to become completely invisible to the vast majority of people, whether you're a man or a woman, is to get fat. Because nobody cares about fat people. Nobody pays attention to fat people. Nobody wants anything from fat people. And even if you have the kind of personality that makes you stand out, that fat is like armor. It has a psychological effect where, yeah, you're not getting into physical confrontations with anyone, but it's a feeling like if somebody directed a psychic punch your way, it would just hit the fat and it would disperse into nothing. And you have to drop that armor spiritually and psychologically as you slim down physically. There's no divide between the physical, spiritual, and mental. And that's why when people make this about willpower, it's not about willpower at all. Willpower, properly understood, it is a finite resource. It is something that you use to overcome a bump in the road, to keep yourself on track when you know that you need to do something, but you're feeling exhausted and you don't feel like doing it, but you know you need to. If you're relying on willpower from beginning to end in order to accomplish a goal, you're going to fail every time. You need to figure out systems that make it so that you only have to rely on willpower in a pinch once you get those systems in place and the habits start forming. This is also not a matter of being weak. You're not weak when you're overwhelmed. There's only so long that you're going to be able to hold things together when your nervous system is being stretched past its breaking point. Now, there's two things I keep in mind whenever I build structures around any goal that I'm trying to accomplish. First of all, make sure that it's a goal that you actually want and not something that you've been conditioned to want, not something that society wants you to want, but it's something that is intrinsic to you and your will. So when it comes to weight loss, I'm interested in health. I'm interested in my long-term health and mobility. I do not want to look like a roided out Instagram influencer. So I'm not going to take their supplements. I'm not going to copy their workout regimens. I'm not going to copy their diets. A lot of them are some of the unhealthiest people that I've ever seen. The main focus I have right now is maintaining the muscle mass that I've put on and losing weight at a sustainable pace. So I'm aiming for about 2 pounds per week. Now, if I lose a bit more than that, I'm not going to complain. And I like to push my physical limits when I get on these kicks. So sometimes I just, for the hell of it, decide, yeah, I'm going to aim for losing 3 pounds this week. And I've made it happen. But if I ever needed breathing room, my actual floor is aiming for half a pound to a pound per week. I could cut a lot of what I'm doing or give myself a bit more food to eat and not completely sacrifice the progress that I'm making. The other part of it, whenever you're working on a goal, you have to realize there is a reason that is not my current reality right now. There's going to be some unpleasant emotions that surface in the process of transitioning. So let's say that you want to put yourself out there. You want to do public speaking, you want to make videos, you want to expand your skill set, maybe learn how to play an instrument. Well, you're going to have to get comfortable in front of other people. And if you're not already comfortable in front of other people, why is that the case? Whatever caused that, you're going to have it surface. And you're going to need to approach this in a way where you're not completely overwhelmed by the attention that you're getting wherever you're practicing your public speaking, your music, etc. And when you sit down with your emotions, you're not allowing yourself to get completely engulfed by them. This is why journaling is an excellent practice, because journaling allows you to externalize things that would otherwise eat away at you inside. And it also forces your mind to slow down, because I don't know about other people, but I know for myself, my hand cannot move as quickly as I can think. It's why writing by hand can be more therapeutic for me than typing it out. There's more reasons beyond that, because when you're writing something out by hand, you've got that tactile feedback. You're getting your whole nervous system involved in the act. Whereas typing, it's easier to get into a kind of trance, and I don't know. For me, my fingers feel like they're a bit more disconnected from the rest of me when I'm sitting in front of a computer screen than when I have a pen and paper in my hands. But a good deal of compassion is necessary. Treat overwhelm, treat cravings, treat this discomfort or this boredom that arises when you're trying to make a change or accomplish something as a part of you communicating something to you, communicating something that you need to heed. You need to pay attention to it. If you're going to reach the other side, having transformed in the ways that make the goal that you're trying to accomplish sustainable and that make you the kind of person that does that and that doesn't stray from it once you've accomplished it. We all have our struggles. We all backslide. We all have things that come up that catch us off guard. But if you're even trying in the first place, you've got a reason to be proud of yourself. If you accomplish something and you backslide later, you still have a reason to be proud of yourself for accomplishing it in the first place. And if you never give up on getting where you're trying to go, you are ahead of everybody else who has given up. Just keep at it. Don't let shame get the better of you. And realize even that shame itself is coming up from within you and is drawing attention to something that has been neglected and needs to be addressed, healed, and integrated. That'll do it for today. Leave a like if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't yet, and leave a comment down below. I love hearing from you guys. I'll see you on the next video.